from Astrology, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the month of March here in 2021 and how the astrology is gonna pan out for that month. March is always like a quite a special month because it separates the old year from the new year, and so there's always transitional energy, and sometimes also it kind of brings all the gifts, but sometimes also all the lacks that the things that we didn't do during the year. We kind of see the results of that, but we also see all the results of what we actually did do. So it can be a very healing month, but it can also be a month where we really have to look inwards and show ourselves compassion, forgive ourselves, maybe also become a little bit more aware of where we take too much action or too little action, because it's like that with the Pisces energy. It's actually it's its own energy, but it's also a compilation of all the other 11th energies. So for me, the expression of the Pisces energy will always kind of show if we have managed all the other 11 signs. Did we manage to be assertive and find our power in Aries? Did we manage to speak out our needs in Gemini? Did we manage to look into our shadows with a Scorpio, or find our inner authority or hope in Sagittarius and down in Capricorn? So all these different parts kind of play out in how you express that Pisces energy. So I think that will be the same for this year. And actually, it's a closing of the year 2020. And so much has happened since this spring of 2020, where everything locked down and we had the virus, all that's been going on across the world. So I hope that there will be some healing to some of these themes. It can be the vaccines. It can be just that the world is opening up more. But on a personal note, I mean, all the things that we each individually has looked into through the year, there might be some things here that then will show up if we've worked on manifesting things, maybe suddenly in the flow, because that's what Pisces is all about. It's all about the trust and the flow. It's kind of like the last part of manifestation, where you sit and you have all the intentions and everything, and you've done all the actions, and now you just have to lean back and trust that it will show up in its own time. So that is kind of what we can expect. And then also maybe see if there's something that hasn't shown up, or especially this kind of victim mentality or persecution mentality, which I feel is quite high in the collective at the moment, partly because of the Pisces energy, but also because of this full moon we just had a few days ago in Virgo, which is really wanting for us to open our hearts into that new Aquarius energy, for us to be finding ourselves as equals, with irrespective of gender or sex, or just this masculine and feminine energy, and to step into those and heal both of those. We actually really need to feel that we can release some of these old persecution ideas about that we're not allowed to be here as we are, the gender we are, or the beliefs we have, or it's the witch wound in a kind of way. And it gets really triggered at the moment because there's also a lot of men that will trigger it or speak to it, because they think that they need to tell us how the world is. And so a lot of defensiveness, a lot of boundaries, a lot of being like a little bit aggressive. I'm not letting you in because I don't trust you. We have to let go of that and know that we're allowed to be here as we are, that we're always safe, that they cannot harm us anymore, or at least, I mean, we need some protection in our own boundaries, but step into that kind of mentality, or take the first step into it, that can be part of this healing as well. So there is also, with all the Aquarius energies, that we're bringing with us into March. This perspective of suddenly seeing that it was never about us, it was about them, it was about their fear, it was about their needs, whatever it might have been about, that it wasn't actually about us, or that we couldn't be whatever we said we wanted, but it was all the beliefs that they had, or that their actions just spoke to who they were. And of course that's like next level, because we all need to be in safe relationship with respect and boundaries and all of this. But when we feel really safe internally, like really, really grounded with the Mars in Taurus, in our self-worth, in who we are, in that we just need to be, that we don't have anything to prove or live up to or be like everybody else, then suddenly there's this possibility of leaning more into seeing that other people are not doing things towards us. They're just doing things, but it has nothing to do with us. So there's this element of also that the Pisces energy can talk into for this year. And then I think one thing is very important about Pisces, that we've learned that it's about all this surrender and compassion and empathy and romanticism and this flowy spiritual energy, and an expansive energy, because it's without boundaries. It just kind of flows through. It's very feminine in that way. It can just kind of just like move around. So not so you don't know where you have it or you can't count on it, but it's more like it doesn't turn back on you and doesn't make itself hard and become aggressive. It just kind of moves. And you can do that willingly or show up willingly in that. So you choose to do it instead of feeling like you have to do it. Because if you feel like you have to do it, it's suddenly more of a sacrificing role. And the whole idea of us having to sacrifice for love or money or relationships, that's probably also something we need to leave behind. But one thing with this esoteric energy, also connected to all of the signs, but especially to Pisces, is that it's ruled by Pluto in esoteric astrology. And that means that, I think that's quite nice also, that this whole maybe spiritual journey or journey as a soul, which is very much connected to the Pisces energy, always have to put us through a kind of a dark night of the soul, where we lose the trust, where we feel like victims, where we feel like we need to sacrifice, whatever that might be, that we just have to let go of stuff. Pisces is so much about just having to let go, and we have to trust that things come back to us. But if we feel that it was our only source, it becomes so sensitive, so vulnerable to let that go. And we have so many stories connected to that. So this thing about also finding our power is very much, I think, about how to use the Pisces energy in a right way. Not only finding our power, but also having so much self-discipline, so much self-control or maturity, that we have the ability to channel that power into something for the greater good. That it isn't our ego power, that it isn't like, now I'm the guru that can channel everything and I can kind of manipulate people in that way, or I channel things but they're full of fear, so I manipulate people with fear. Fear can be a big thing with Pisces as well. So this thing about knowing how connected you are, knowing how much you can actually draw from source and use that with your will, but also having a mature will, so you use it for not only your own benefit, but your own benefit and for the greater good. So it becomes this both and mentality, the unity mentality. I don't know if I love the idea of the unconditional love that is connected to Pisces. And this belief that we stand there and can love people just and start with ourselves anyway. But for me, there will always be conditions. There's always boundaries somewhere in a relationship. So the whole idea of the totally unconditional thing, that is pretty hard. But for us to practice, I think, in a world of polarity still, but we can try. I mean, we can try and move towards a we perspective and away from a me perspective. That's always what Pisces is here to. So and for this month, we just had this new moon in the full moon in Virgo. So that energy is gonna bring us forward. That we need to find our power. We need to be able to separate the facts from the dreams. All of that really need to concentrate on and detox maybe a little bit. Get rid of things so there is room for all the new things that we want to come into our lives. And then just a few days into March, we will experience Mars in Gemini. And for me, it's like when Pisces is so yin, she's so feminine, she's so flowy, it always seems like the expression of this this Pisces energy is very much connected to where the Mars energy is at the moment, or that we choose to tap into. And with Mars and Gemini, the feeling for me is that we need to be so aware of our mindset. If we have a fear mentality, a scarcity mentality, only see the short term and not the bigger picture, is too much focused on logic and facts and what is going on like in the details, and cannot see that there is maybe like a greater balance in play, then this month might feel like we have to surrender a lot of things or have to let go of a lot of things, and it can produce frustration or fear or whatever. But if we have a mindset or that is more in tune with thinking both and drawing some of the intuitive stuff in as well, seeing that maybe there's like a bigger plan with seeing that maybe the obstacles are not something that is put forward to just kind of irritate us, but maybe they're actually part of the plan. Maybe they're part of the plan all along, because every time we meet that obstacle, we find a new power in ourselves, we find a new skill in ourselves, and suddenly we build upon that and become the people we want to become and we need to become to be able to manifest and do the things we want to do. So I think it needs to, it also, the Mars in Gemini speaks into the playful energy, that Pisces very much is about as well. Some of the creative energy as well. It can speak into this duality of both listening and speaking, knowing when to be silent and knowing when to speak up, building this bridge, again, unity to do this. So, and you have this and I have this, so how do we fix it in like a third alternative, so nobody has to kind of feel like they sacrifice something that they don't want to sacrifice. And then also Venus, it just moved into Pisces, so she's going to square these nodal axes that we have, the south node and the north node, and Mars is actually going to meet the north node, so there's going to be a lot of focus on how to express that Mars energy in a more soulful way, or that can be part of like an emotional development. But with Venus squared the nodes, there as well as being kind of a nod or a point, or maybe like a misstep for us to understand what it is right now in terms of the nodal axis. And the nodal axis is very much focused at the moment with Gemini and Sagittarius about communication, about having beginner's mind, also drawing on our intuition and drawing on old wisdom, and maybe returning to some of the things that some grounding and connection to nature that we used to have, but also this beginner mindset of seeing the world with new eyes, like a child, asking a lot of questions as to why things are the way they are, and in that way be inspired to kind of contribute with our own beliefs, but also maybe letting go of some of the old beliefs we have, and to see that that was actually built upon whatever one bad experience or fear or something, and maybe we can implement or create new beliefs with this aspect as well. So with Venus here, there's something dissolving, but it could also be that we need some compassion to build this bridge or whatever it is. Then we have like the new moon on the 13th in Venus, or in Pisces, conjunct Venus and conjunct Neptune. So that can be a really fairy tale, romantic, fantastic new moon in 23 degrees of Pisces. But it can also be filled with illusions. And that's what really interesting about this Pisces energy, that there's always a different or a new layer. There's never one truth that we can dig into. It's like, yeah, but it's how this is. And then if you have a little bit higher perspective, you can also see it like this. And yeah, but that's a toxic way of thinking about it. So there's always kind of, you can always put a layer on top. And sometimes some people will say that's spiritual bypass. And for other people, they would go, no, because I've been through all of the steps. So I'm actually, this is free will. I know that I'm choosing this. I'm not avoiding anything. So it very much also depends on the eyes that's seeing, if it's illusions or if it's addictions or whatever can show up with Pisces, or it's actually like a deep, which is possible, soul connection here, a deep unconditional love that we'll meet somehow in our lives or connect to in ourselves, or yeah, whatever that may be. There is also this aspect of asteroid Ceres conjunct Chiron, so there can be some healing around mother issues, or there can be some wounding around mother issues depending on where you are. But I really feel like there's been so much focus on the mother wound these last couple of years, and finally closing this cycle with Saturn in Capricorn and Jupiter in Capricorn. Maybe we're really closing off that kind of mother wound that has also opened, or some would call it father wound. I mean, it can kind of be both, but parental wound with Ceres, a nurturing wound we have, can heal, or we can see it suddenly and then maybe be able to heal it. But I think there'll be a lot of healing around it. And then we kind of end the month with a full moon in Libra. And I think that full moon is here to teach us to really let go of some of the old codependent ways a lot of us have with us, especially the whole Pluto and Libra generation, which I'm a part of. All of this being afraid of expressing our needs or pleasing, or being too much in each other's spaces, or maybe just then going totally in a different direction and being very much more independent and not wanting to depend on anybody, and putting up walls in that kind of way. And so it's something here about releasing some old patterns about you versus me, or that the illusion of the perfect love, or perfect partnership, could it be the idealistic version of things compared to the actual reality of a deep connection with somebody. It can be the whole emotional manipulation with the moon in Libra, also connected to getting what we want, and where we suddenly see that we have to release some things and maybe be more direct, and not so passive aggressive, or not hiding our needs in that way. And at the same time, Venus enters Aries. So we're going to have a stellium in Aries. That means a lot of planets here. And that's really gonna put some attention on that Aries energy, and I think balance all of that. Pisces energy will still feel, or Libra energy will still feel out. And then just one last interesting thing about this month. There's a lot of aspects that I haven't mentioned, but Mars in Gemini is actually, Mars is going to go out of bounds. And that means that it's going to be, Mars in Gemini is not the typical thing where you can work out what they're thinking always, because they're playful, they're flirtatious, they have a lot of different things in the air all the time, multitasking. So with Mars and Gemini being out of bounds, there can really be a tendency to go overboard with the having too much on your plate at the same time. There can also be like a very eager, sometimes Gemini can be very much in their solar plexus or down in their masculine, kind of just pushing in a different way than Aries would, because in Gemini it's like with a lot of words and come on and do this now. So we'll have to kind of maybe also bring that energy a little bit down. There can be certain information coming that we didn't know what was coming from all over the place, and yeah, we'll just have to kind of see what waits us here with the out of bounds period. And they're all to kind of push something up. Always hear the out of bounds periods. We had a out of bounds period was with Mercury in a Capricorn, and just during December and beginning of January. And there were some things there that, I'm a Capricorn, that usually I wouldn't say, but they were just pushed up. So I just had to say, they had to come out. And that released a lot of things. So maybe for some Gemini people, there will also be some things here where they suddenly see, okay, I need to cut down on some things. Or for the rest of us, yeah, maybe we could do with a little more playfulness, or a little more beginner's mindset, a little more interest in learning new stuff, all of that which is connected to Gemini. So I think that was the words I have about the month of March. And I look very much forward to hearing your comments. Have a great month, and maybe we'll see you next month. Bye.